Hi, my name is Bo Mitchell, and this is Young Entertainment.
We're kind of all about masterclass moments, such as learning from actors in the field. So I would love to
Yeah.
know from you, how do you get ready for an audition?
Good question. Let's see. That that's a really fun question. Yeah, thanks for that. Good starter too. So getting ready for an audition is always a little different. I think everybody's got their own little, mantra or whatever, their own little process, but I mean, there's the obvious steps. I think you got to learn your lines, probably try to get into character some sort, maybe whatever that is, could be different every time. There's get your gear set up. The world of self tapes is very intricate. So, if you are acting right now and you've probably done some, probably received a breakdown on very detailed on how to set up your little studio. So that type of stuff. If you're going in, that's cool. Or maybe doing a Zoom, that all that stuff happens as well. But I do a lot of self tapes, so I know I have my little stuff. I have a little backdrop and everything, so set that up. But on the creative side, it's really more like, for me, I just want to try to. It's like now that I've really ever done a lot of speed dating, it's kind of like speed dating. You're speed dating with a character. You get like a day or 2 days with this character, and then you get like 5 or 10 pages of material, and you have to like occasionally you get a script, but you really don't. I mean, I'm a slow reader. I don't have time to read a whole script in a day or two. So you kind of just dive into what you can and just quickly create something out of it, regurgitate it, send it off, and hope they like it. So it's kind of the process for me, at least. I don't know about everybody else, but
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's what we want to hear, your process, because your process could be similar to someone else who's watching our video and they could easily learn from that. So I think that's a great answer. Yeah. Speed
thanks.
dating, but acting. I love it.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And for someone who is an aspiring actor, I know that a big thing for people is to get an agent. What can aspiring actors be doing to get agents interested in representing them?
Yeah, that's another great question. Yeah, this is awesome. The that whole process is really funny. I actually I was speaking with someone the other day and we were talking about kind of like if you started today. I started a long time ago, and the world I started in is way different than now. So it was actually an interesting question because I wouldn't definitely wouldn't do it the same. It's so much different now. I think that getting an agent is a huge like door opening kind of first step. I'd say it's like it's almost like graduating a class or something. You have to do a lot of work to get an agent. Most people don't just kind of walk into that. Um, you have to really kind of prove yourself, right? And so with that, I would just say that use what you have at hand. Most everyone has a smartphone nowadays. It's like a blessing that those are just readily available to pretty much everybody. If you have one of those, you have like a supercomputer in your hand, right? You could write, you could create special effects, you could obviously film and edit, you know. So just do stuff with your friends because the big thing is you need to show what you can do or make a reel, what it's called in the industry, and that's like a highlight reel of scenes that you've acted in or performed in that shows your talents, right? So creating one of those is gonna be obviously, you know, integral. It's gonna be something you have to do, but you want to make it as good as possible. And you usually don't have the opportunities to do that if you don't have an agent because you probably aren't working a ton, you know. And so with that, like make some stuff with your friends. That's what I tell everybody. Just have some fun, make a skit, maybe just reenact your favorite scene from your favorite movie, create something new, and then put it out there too. Like you never know what's going to happen. Like there's the ad on top of the supercomputer in your pocket. There's also social media, which is this powerhouse of a marketing tool. So go out there and post on TikTok or Instagram and in X or whatever you use, and see what the reception is. You might just go viral, and you might kind of skip a couple steps, by doing that, and that would be great. So, but yeah, at the end of the day, build out a reel that really showcases your talents, and then kind of from the ground up, you have to start sending it out to people. You can find agents out there. Make sure that they have a roster of good people. Come come to that situation as the trying to think of a way to say this. It doesn't sound too silly, but you know, you're you are very valuable, obviously, as a person, but it's hard. Sometimes that's forgotten in this industry, and so you could just be thankful for anything, right? But which is good. It's a good mindset to have, but you also don't want to, under leverage yourself too much. If you're talking to an agent, don't be afraid to ask questions, make sure they're doing their job. Some agents aren't, you know, so just make sure you're getting yourself into good hands, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, and that totally makes sense. And like you said, social media is such a big thing nowadays. People use it for various things. How do you yourself use social media to elevate your own acting career that maybe some of our audience could watch and learn from?
Yeah, sure. I really, it's funny. I've actually feel like I'm being a millennial. I'm on the cusp of almost being too old for some of it, but I do love, creating like kind of like bite-sized content. So it is fun. For me, it has been a marketing tool. A lot of times I'm just sharing stuff. I just want my friends and family and fans, whoever's following me, to see. So that's a lot of times what it is for me. Really personally, kind of exterior of the acting world, I do try to use it to keep up with people. That's gotten harder through the years as the algorithm has developed into this entertainment system. But I do like to try to keep up with people, friends and family, see what they're posting. But ultimately, yeah, for the kind of focus on film industry, right, and as acting, it's just about sharing what you're doing, because there's a ton of content coming out, and if you get lost in the sauce like dead scrolling or something, you're never going to see the same thing twice. So it's like it's hard for people to organically just stumble upon what you're doing. So you have to kind of be your own, self promoter, right? So getting out there and showing that off, right? Hey, look at this new movie I got coming out, right? And so forth.
Yeah, yeah, no, that makes sense. And it's honestly pretty hard to navigate. Social media can be scary, but also can be really fun and exciting. And if used the right way, can definitely be a positive experience. So, yeah, I
Yeah,
totally
for
get that.
sure.
Now, lucky for you, you've obviously been on the scene, you've been in movies, you've been in TV shows, and you've had the opportunity to work with some really amazing actors. So I'd love it if I could throw off some different actor names and you could let me
Yeah,
know if you've learned anything from them, whether that's acting wise or just in life.
yeah, of course. Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, let's get into it. All right. First person, Laura Prepon.
Oh my God, it's so funny you asked me. I was thinking about her the other day. Yes, she is. She is amazing. I got to work with her when I was a kid. I was like 12, I think, on this show called October Road. It was a drama on ABC, and I was just a kid. I was like kind of like one of my what I would consider like my breaks, because it's like um for acting, getting casted in it's when you actually get cast or something, it feels so good, and that I remember that was a 2 or 3 stage audition process, and I actually got casted in the room, which was such a special feeling. I finished the audition in front of like 7 or 8 people, and then they just said, "Hey, you got the job," and so yeah, so that was really cool. But yes, that was a super great experience for me as a 12-year-old. One of one of my first named characters with lines. I was a reoccurring, so it was a big role for me, and I get to spend a lot of time with her, which was really cool. We were in similar scenes together, and we would be on set most of the same days together. My mother was a big fan of hers, so I was there was a lot of that 70s shows on reruns around then. I remember like I think Nick at Night or something was showing them, and I was like, I actually already knew who she was, which is like um, really funny because I talked to her about it a little bit. I think she was just taken back. She's like, why does a 12-year-old know what the show is? But like, yeah, it was really, really cool to meet her. But she was so down to earth, so cool. I remember how actually one thing I always liked about her is how calm she was. The set can be like a very busy place, everybody's running around. There's people trying to hit deadlines and get shots done, and she was just always just chill, just always kind of smooth operator, and I always remember her. She would walk onto set and kind of on time, but also just kind of moving at her own pace, and she would get in there and do the scene, and she was always nailing it. It's just really cool to watch her work, for sure. You could tell she's been acting for a long time.
Wow, that's amazing. At 12 years old, already getting that experience to learn from someone, like you already said, you've seen on TV, you knew from the jump that you were going to get a lot out of that. That's amazing.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it was an awesome experience.
Wow, that's great. Okay, next person. What about James Franco?
Yeah, I had a crazy experience with him actually. I'll tell you a quick story. It's like basically I was 17, I think. I was in college. I was just starting college, and I was doing like a meeting with my advisor. I think it was my second or third semester, and she was like, "What we were planning some stuff out." And then she kind of just got into this. We got in this conversation about acting because I was telling her that I'm an actor and still want to do that. And then she had this funny little conversation. She was like, "You know what you should do is you should drop out and you should go and move to LA and just do that." And I was like, "Isn't that the opposite of the conversation we're supposed to be having?" But she was so dead serious, and she brought up James Franco, and she was like, James Franco did something similar, and she told me a little bit of a story about him, how he went back to school, basically in his late 20s and 30s, and I was like, "That's super cool," but I'm trying to enroll in these classes. So I ended up though, a few months after that, dropping out to actually go and work with him. So that was a super crazy little, synchronicity that I got to experience and really, really thankful for. And he was he was so good to me. It was really a crazy experience. I had a couple good things under my belt, but I was maturing as an actor into this you know late stage adolescence, early adulthood, and playing roles like that I never played before, and also just experiencing life myself at that age. So I got cast in Palo Alto, which is Gia Coppola, and he was acting in it and producing it, and he saw me work there, and then he kind of took me under his wing. He put me up in his guest house for about a year, and I did like 7 or 8 projects with him in that time, and just that was just an amazing masterclass experience, right? I just got to live under this guy's wing and see him work, and he was doing everything at the time. He was writing, directing, producing, acting. He was so busy all the time, and then doing really good, still being able to hold it all together and execute and stuff, and then just getting the opportunity to work with those people. We had some amazing sets that I got to be on, that I got to make some great friends, and really it's so cool because a lot of the people that I ended up working with have also developed great careers up to this point. And so it's really cool to get to be like, oh, I know that guy. He's on Netflix right now. It's so cool to see your buddies killing it. So, but yeah, super thankful for that little experience with James. That was like definitely very much a kind of coming of age situation for me. It was great.
Yeah, and it sounds like a full circle moment from talking to your advisor, her bringing him up, then
Yeah.
working, and him advising you, if you will.
Right.
So,
Yeah. Right. So funny how that stuff works. It's awesome.
yeah, that's super cool. Okay, what about Danny McBride?
Yeah. Danny's a great guy. I actually saw I saw a interview with him recently. Um, it's always so funny to see him like not in character, but the I got to work with them on Eastbound and Down, and that was 13, 14 up until I was 18. I had to do 4 seasons of that, and I was really just like, I'm really just so stoked I got to be like a fly on the wall for that. I didn't At that time I didn't understand that I was like a sponge to this, being an early teenager, and I didn't understand how much like my brain was like taking in subconsciously. But I definitely contribute at least half of my toolkit, if not more, that I use pretty much every day on set to what I got to see them do there. I think that between Danny and Ben Best, rest in peace, and Jody and David, and then the other actors they had around them, like Steve and Will and Craig and all the guests and stuff, the people that would come in through the doors, basically, and seeing them all work was just like insane to get to be there for. And then, like I said, it was a subconscious effect I didn't really know was there until, honestly, the past few years I've started to realize, like, okay, this is actually, I'm making these decisions because in scene and character, because I saw these guys do that, and it opened up this ability to do things like improvisational acting, and like um bringing even things that have served me really well in drama, like bringing hearts, bringing likability to an unlikable character, stuff like that pulls the audience in. It's like really a really powerful tool that I definitely didn't learn it anywhere else. Is like it definitely came from watching, Danny play, his characters, that he always kind of has that same energy he brings to his characters. And yeah, just like a awesome experience. I'm stoked I got to have, and I can never thank those guys enough for like let me sit through it, because they would let me just come to set and hang out, and that was just like so amazing, because I got to see a bunch of things I wasn't even in. I got to be there for, and it just helped me take so much in. So yeah, really, and they really took me under their wing. Like I remember there'd be times that they would go out to eat for lunch some days, and they would like, hey, you want to come with me? And that's just like a crazy awesome experience. Like big brothers like taking you out to eat kind of thing. It's just like um, you know, hey, come hang out with us for the day. Super, super cool experience. So yeah, really thankful for those guys.
Yeah. And it's always interesting to have someone older than you sort of take you under their wing and their tutelage and teach you something. But you've also worked with actors who are more closely to your own age. And, you've kind of been around in the acting sphere for the same times, such as Alex Wolff and Haley Bailey. What was it like working with them, knowing that they're your same age and, you guys were kind of, going through the motions of learning acting, but also being in this industry for a long time? What was that like?
Yeah, it was it's a super cool experience. I love working with, always I consider everybody I work with a peer, but there's definitely like, elder statesmen and so forth. But it's like working with folks, closely to my age is very, very fun. It's still a learning experience for me, honestly, because everybody brings like a different trick to the trade, and just watching people give great performances in person, from behind, like being on set and seeing it from behind the camera is just like, it's different when if you're on set acting, you're both kind of like in this little headspace. You kind of, at least in my experience, you're a little bit blacked out for the situation. You kind of are not taking fully in what they're doing, like from the audience perspective. So you're not able to sometimes completely digest like what just happened, But then when you're maybe you're just on set hanging out that day, and you're just behind the monitor with the team kind of watching everything, that's always a fun experience. You're always just like, you're blown away by a great performance. And so it's cool to get to see that. It's really, really powerful too, for at least for me, it's like being in that scenario where you have a lot of other talented, hardworking people, especially your age. It's just kind of like, all right, there's no excuses. I have to go crush this. Like I just got fired up because my buddy just crushed their scene, and they just gave this amazing performance, and I now the bar is set, right? And so that was something that was actually big on the set of The Line that I really cherished, and I'm kind of craving more of now in my future work, is that there was a camaraderie. And I think it was partially because we work all close to the same age, but there was a special kind of um like energy on set to challenge each other, right? And to be constantly your best, but also to say, hey, he just killed that scene. He just was, amazing at that scene, or that person just, crushed that situation, right? They just nailed it out of the park. And so you're kind of like, okay, well, like I said earlier, that's the bar. I now have to do that or better. And then you create this avalanche effect where it's like halfway through the shoot, you know, you'll have your actor on the other side of the scene completely 100% nailing their lines behind, completely off camera, just to give you everything they can give you so you can do the best with your close up. And so that stuff is like amazing. I really haven't ever seen that prior to working on this set. And I think that was because we were all similar in age and working so closely together. So yeah, it was an amazing experience.
Yeah. And I love to hear that. It sounds like acting in and of itself is it's not just that I'm doing my thing. It's a lot of give and take and like sharing the space and working together and collaborating to make something amazing. So
Yeah, yeah, totally that. And that truly yields some of the best results in my opinion when you can create that ecosystem.
yeah, I agree. I agree. And obviously, anybody can just get up in front of a camera and read some lines, but a real actor has to get into character. So, how would you say that things like hair, makeup, and costume really help in order to get the actor to elevate and get into character?
Yeah, I think that actually I really appreciate you asking that question. I feel like stuff like hair and makeup gets overlooked sometimes. Um, wardrobe's a big one, but even down to like what our department does, I think all that stuff is so important. And it's like we have we obviously have a job to do, but we have a ton of help, right? We as actors are going to build a character or get into a character, and there's a large psychological front to that. There's a physical manifestation sometimes in that, be it what you may need to do with your facial expressions or your hair or your body, but going into like the things like hair and makeup and wardrobe and so forth, to me that's like a really powerful tool, at least for myself, to get into character, to take that final step. I could come to set with an accent, I could come to set with a train of thought laid out, and I could come to set with my lines and a couple other things that I use, but then that extra step is definitely that extra nudge is brought by those things. Almost like setting, almost like the match the fire is the ignition. Like when I actually I've had a couple jobs where I have a wardrobe that's not too far off from my everyday casual wear, but it's not my clothes, right? And when I step into those, it's like it is have like a funny little effect. It's almost like it's almost like putting on a clown suit. It's like not you're not obviously putting on a clown suit, but it has that same effect where it's like, okay, I now have the makeup on. I have, even though it's still, even though it's not like, face paint and so forth. Sometimes it is, but that stuff just helps a ton, especially if you're. I've had a couple roles where I've had to live in a hair situation. Like I've had to change my hairdo or change my facial hair and stuff. And when you're living in that, that takes it a step further. I'm a big fan of method work, and I personally pursue that in you know in my work as an actor, and so I love it when something that's available. It's like, oh, the character needs to have you need to have black hair. It needs to be, a ponytail or something I would not normally wear. Great. Let's get that set up. I don't want to just be that all the time, as much as I can, so I could just create this consistency with what I'm doing. So, but yeah, huge shout out to all the other departments, hair, makeup, wardrobe, art. Those folks like bring it together. They really do.
Yeah, they definitely do. Because like the transformation is amazing sometimes. And is there anything in particular that you do from the very first moment you step onto set in order to get yourself instantly into character? Any rituals, mantras, songs you listen to, anything like that?
Yeah, yeah. There's a it's different for different characters, I would say, different situations. But sometimes a character will have their own little thing they do, and so that will lead me to something. I had a like, for instance, for the line, Mitch, my character, he had a playlist that the director and I put together, and that was like a 30-40 song playlist, and I was listening to that pretty much exclusively for like a couple months. So that's that's kind of an example, but then definitely like on the way to set or even in between scenes, certain songs would come up, and listening to music is very powerful to me. At least it may not be for others. I've definitely done some mantras before. I've done some affirmation stuff. Some of that work is great, especially for me if I'm trying to nail an accent or something. A lot of that is necessary to make sure that it's coming out right and you're warmed up and your vocals are warmed up. That's another thing I'll do sometimes. A vocal warm up, I might do a little karaoke in the car or something, and whatever, maybe in the trailer, do a sing along to a song or something. I can't sing, so hopefully no one ever hears me. That's why I try to hide in my car and do it. But no, ultimately though, that's great because the voice needs to be warmed up. Sometimes you're getting to set at like 4 a.m. and you're going, you're just you still have mud in your eyes, and it's just like your voice is not there. So it needs to be there. It needs to sound just the way it did at 12 a.m. last night. It needs to sound that same way this morning, right? So when you were on set doing your last take of the day, it needs to sound pretty much the same, depending on what the character's doing. So yeah, things like that are super helpful to me. Just making sure I'm gonna be essentially ready to go to work, right? I just got to make sure I'm ready to go and in character.
Yeah, and that sounds like a great time. I'm picturing someone walking by your trailer going, "What does that sound?" Oh,
Yeah,
and
yeah, a
actually
little
love
Kelly
it.
Clarkson at 6 a.m. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And obviously, you spend a lot of time on set working with your fellow actors, but when you're off set, downtime in between scenes, are there anything that you and your fellow actors like to do while you're waiting or you're just, hanging out?
Yeah, it depends on it depends a lot on what's going on. Some different sets are different. Some character builds are different. I've had some situations where I want to be antisocial, but if it's available on set for everyone to kind of hang, it's always fun. I love that. I love a family setting. Just being from the South, you just love camaraderie, and I love hanging out with folks, especially other actors. It's funny, you don't get to hang out. At least I don't get to hang out with them as much. I spend most of my time in South Carolina, where I'm from, and I don't get to hang out with them as much. It's always fun to just chat it up. The fun thing to do for me though is actually, yeah. Sometimes we'll do outside of rehearsals. That's a great thing to do if you have the time. But it's just kind of like hang out and maybe you can't do too much, right? Because you're gonna they're trying to herd cats, so that you don't want to run off. But maybe listen to some music, hanging out, jamming. I usually carry a speaker with me, and in between sets or during a setup, maybe play a little music, and hang out and just talk about it and share music. And you never know, one of the gaffers might come by and be like, "Oh yeah, you heard this song from that band," and you just get a great music suggestion. And just like getting a chat with everyone on set. For me, it's like the fellow actors are great, and that's usually a great group to talk to. But you know, I love the entire world that it takes to make these things happen. And so always getting the chance to like sit down with someone who is, behind the scenes and just kind of learning about them, but then also getting to like pick up a couple things from what they're doing. There's just trying to be a student to the game, I guess, trying to understand every moving part, and it helps you as well. I've seen some elder, some pro actors, some older folks come in and do really funny little things where I'm just like, wow, you can tell that person has been acting for 50 years, and this is like a nugget that they have learned, and it's not really about acting. They're like asking about what, how much wattage is the light right now, so they know how much like sheen they could have on their face, and or what size, millimeter, like what size is the lens right now, so they know what box they're going to be put in. It's just stuff like that. It's just like, wow, that's you don't that's not taught anywhere in acting. You have to be on set. You got to learn that. So that stuff is always cool to try to pick up.
Yeah, learning on the job, they say, is one of the number one things you can do. It's not even so much about the resume when you went to school, it's about the experiences you get when you're on the job. So that makes
Yeah.
a lot of sense. I love that. All right. Now I have some rapid fire questions for you. So I'm
Okay,
going to ask
sure.
you some various questions. Some of them are about like first, and some of them are about some other things. But
Okay.
if you're ready, we can get into it.
Yeah, yeah. Let's do it. I'll try to be quick. Here we go.
All right. Tell me about the first time you ever went on set.
First time I went on set, I probably don't really remember it. I got into acting as a baby. My first job was I was 9 months old, so I'm not sure. But I was doing baby clothes modeling.
Oh,
So
wow.
that's my first time. And my first time I remember set was I was doing extra work, and my family came with me. Me and my parents played a family in the back of the scene. That was pretty fun.
Oh, that sounds super fun.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. First audition.
First audition. Also, probably don't remember that one, but I do have a couple good ones. I remember you used to have to put stuff on actual DV tapes or VHS tapes, and I remember traveling to Charlotte to do something, and really just what I remember about it is taking Polaroids and then stapling it to your tape and then putting it in a Manila envelope and shipping it out. And now we have WeTransfer, so
Remembering the good old days.
yeah,
Okay. The first time you ever had to cry on cue.
yeah, that's a good one. I think that's really come more recently. I've always done kind of comedy stuff. I think it was probably only one of the works I did with James, but I can't put a finger on it, honestly. I know there was a ton of work we did in the line where I had to cry on cue, and that was very that's always weirdly fulfilling. It's nice to let out a good cry. It's good to have an excuse for it. So
Cathartic, yeah. Okay. First on-screen kiss, if you had one.
yeah, let's see. That was oh man, I'm blanking on the film 2015, 2016 though. And it was like a teeny bop comedy. We had a I had a kissing scene with one of the other actresses, and yeah, I'm totally blanking. I hate this. I'm totally blanking. I'll have to send it to you later, but we can like put it up here in bold letters or something. Yeah.
Okay, we can definitely do that. All right. This one might be a little bit harder, but what was the first TV show or film that you saw that made you want to be an actor?
Oh yeah, I love that. I'm trying to be quick, but the best thing was I've done this for a while. I kind of got thrown into it, so I had to like find this love for it myself for sure. And I remember watching, some old 80s movies with my parents, and it wasn't even really about what the movie was. It was about seeing how much my parents loved watching movies, and that was really cool. And I was like, oh, I get a chance to do that. And so almost as like a labor of love for them, I was like, oh, I want to do this and like, them get to see it, that type of thing. So yeah, that was a part of it.
That's really sweet. And I'm sure they're very proud watching you. I'm sure your whole family gets excited whenever you're in something.
Yeah, ton of cousins and aunts and uncles in South Carolina. I got a big family. They're always excited to watch it and give me a hard time. It's great. I love it.
I love to hear that. Well, thank you so much for talking to us today here at Young Entertainment.
Yeah, it's been a great time today. Thanks for having me. I'm Bo Mitchell. It's been a blast on Young Entertainment, and don't forget to subscribe to Young Entertainment Mag.